Hi, I'm Julianne, lead chef for Continental. I love making Italian food, especially risotto. It's one of my favourite dishes. Let me show you how to make my beautiful spring risotto with asparagus, lemon and broad beans using Continental vegetable stock pot. If you don't have a Borio rice, use a good quality medium grain rice instead. The first step you need to do is to dilute and boil your Continental stock pot in the water. As a rule, to make risotto, you need to use 3 times as much liquid to the rice. Next, we need to trim our asparagus. Now, just a tip, to work out how far along to trim your asparagus, just bend it and see where the asparagus naturally breaks. That way we won't use any of these woody parts. Trim the rest of your asparagus at the same point. Keep the asparagus to one side and we're going to blanch the tips in the stock that we diluted earlier. Next, we need to do our broad beans. So we're going to pod these broad beans. Now, if you're using fresh broad beans that you can only get around spring, you have to pod them twice. So you need to remove them from their large outside pod, you need to blanch them and then pod them again. If you're using these frozen ones that are great and they're very easy to find in the supermarkets, you can just pod them directly from frozen. Now the asparagus tips will have blanched, we can just pull them out. So next we need to dice up that onion. So a nice peeled onion, half will do. And give it a nice brunoise or dice. So our pot's been heating, we need to add a little bit of olive oil and our onion. And we're going to pan fry that. Great. Give that a nice stir and turn that down to a medium heat. Now those onions are cooked till translucent. We can add in our rice. Now remember, this is unwashed rice. This is one of the few occasions that you don't wash your rice before you use it. We want all those lovely starches to stay in the rice to help us get that creamy texture we're looking for. Once they're coated, we're going to give it a little splash of white wine. Okay, that's absorbed. Now we're ready to add the stock. The secret to a good risotto is adding the stock gradually, one ladle at a time. Keep stirring the rice so that it cooks evenly and it helps the starch that comes out from the rice form that lovely silky creamy texture that risottos are famous for. When most of the stock is absorbed, the rice should be nearly cooked, but still with a little bit of a bite. The Italians call this al dente. Beautiful. So let's pop our asparagus and broad beans in. Now these are so tender and fine and the broad beans are already cooked, so they only need to be warmed through. And let's add our lemon rind. So just with a grater or a microplane. Fantastic. So I'll just turn that heat off now. Keep stirring it. And we're going to add in some spread and Parmesan cheese. So now grab a large bowl and we'll serve this up. Notice how it's nice and wet still. A risotto shouldn't be a meal that you eat with a fork. Now the asparagus that we blanched before, pop that around the plate and a little bit of parsley. And like every chef, just a little bit more Parmesan cheese. You can let your guests do this at the table if you like. So there you have it, my beautiful asparagus, broad bean and lemon risotto. For this recipe and lots more great meal ideas, go to the Continental website.